The moment I pressed enter on my laptop to change his GPS destination, my hands were shaking. Not from fear. Not from doubt. From pure, cold satisfaction. After months of lies, secret phone calls, and fake business trips, I was about to give my cheating husband the surprise of his lifetime. He thought he was driving to meet his investment banker for an emergency meeting. But I had other plans. His GPS was now programmed to take him straight to his mistress's house, where I would be waiting on her front porch with divorce papers in one hand and his packed suitcase in the other. My name is Sarah, and until 6 months ago, I thought I had the perfect marriage. David and I had been together for 15 years, married for 12. We met at a coffee shop when I was 23 and working as a data analyst for a tech company. He was 25, fresh out of business school, wearing a suit that was a little too big for him and a smile that made my heart skip. That first conversation lasted 4 hours. We talked about everything. Our dreams, our fears, what kind of life we wanted to build together. He told me he wanted a partner, not just a wife. Someone who would stand beside him as he built his career. Someone who would be his equal in every way. I believed him. God, how I believed him. We got married 2 years later in a small ceremony by the lake where we had our third date. Nothing fancy. Just our families, a few close friends, and promises we meant with our whole hearts. Or at least, I meant mine. David started his financial consulting firm that same year, and I supported him through every late night, every setback, every small victory. When the business struggled in those first months, I was the one who kept us afloat with my salary. When he needed to wine and dine potential clients but couldn't afford it, I learned to cook 5-star meals in our tiny apartment kitchen. When he doubted himself, I was his cheerleader, his therapist, his rock. The business grew. Slowly at first, then faster. By our 5th anniversary, David had 3 employees. By our 10th, he had 30. We moved from our cramped apartment to a nice house in the suburbs, then to the massive colonial in Westfield that became our home 3 years ago. The one with the circular driveway and the fountain out front. The one where I thought we'd raise children, though that blessing never came. The one where I planted roses in the backyard because David said they reminded him of our wedding day. I quit my job when David's income hit 7 figures. Not because he asked me to, but because he needed help managing the household, planning corporate events, entertaining clients' wives. I became the perfect corporate wife. I learned about wine, memorized the names and birthdays of every important client's spouse and children, hosted dinner parties that people still talk about. I made David look good. That was my job now, and I was excellent at it. Looking back, I can see when things started to change. It was so gradual, like watching paint fade in the sun. You don't notice it day by day, but one morning you wake up and realize the vibrant red has turned to pale pink. It started with the gym. David said he needed to get in shape for his health. Fair enough. He was approaching 40, and his job was stressful. But then the gym visits went from 3 times a week to every single day. Sometimes twice a day. His soft dad bod transformed into something from a fitness magazine. He bought new clothes. Expensive cologne. Started getting his hair cut every 2 weeks instead of once a month. Then came the business trips. David's company had always required some travel, maybe once a month to meet with out-of-state clients. But suddenly, it was every week. Sometimes twice a week. Always urgent. Always last minute. Always to cities where I later discovered he had no actual clients. But I'm getting ahead of myself. The first real red flag came on a Tuesday evening in March. David was in the shower, and his phone buzzed on the nightstand. It was a text from someone named Alex from marketing. Innocent enough, except David's company didn't have anyone named Alex in marketing. I knew every employee. I organized the company Christmas party every year, sent birthday cards to each of them. There was no Alex. The message preview just said, "Can't wait to see you tomorrow." When David came out of the shower, I mentioned the text casually. "Alex from marketing texted you," I said, watching his face carefully. He didn't miss a beat. "Oh, that's the new guy. Just started this week. Eager Beaver wants to go over some campaigns." Smooth. So smooth that I almost believed him. Almost. The next day, I called David's office manager, Patricia, to update the employee birthday list. "I need to add Alex from marketing," I said cheerfully. "When did he start? What's his last name?" Patricia was confused. "Alex? We don't have anyone named Alex. And we haven't hired anyone new in marketing for 3 months." That was the moment. The exact moment when 15 years of trust cracked like ice under pressure. Not shattered, not yet. Just that first, hairline fracture that you know will spread. I became someone I didn't recognize. A detective in my own home. I started paying attention to things I had ignored before. How David always kept his phone face down now. How he had changed his password, the one that had been our anniversary date for years. How he would step outside to take certain calls, claiming the reception was better in the backyard. How his business trips always seemed to happen when I had plans with my sister or my book club. But I needed proof. Real, solid proof. Not for him, but for me. I needed to know I wasn't crazy, wasn't imagining things, wasn't becoming one of those paranoid wives who see affairs where there are none. So I started my investigation. The first step was simple. I checked our credit card statements. Really checked them, not just glanced at the total like I usually did. There were charges I didn't recognize. Restaurants I'd never been to. 2 dinner charges on nights when David was supposedly eating alone in his hotel room. Flower deliveries that never came to our house. A jewelry store charge for $3,000 the month before my birthday, but my birthday present was a $500 bracelet. Where did the other $2,500 go? Next, I looked at our phone bill. David had a separate phone for business, but the family plan statement showed everything. There was one number that appeared over and over. Hundreds of texts. Late-night calls that lasted hours. The number had a local area code. Whoever Alex was, she wasn't from out of town. I thought about hiring a private investigator immediately, but something stopped me. Maybe it was pride. Maybe it was the need to see for myself. Or maybe I just needed something to do with all the rage that was building inside me like pressure in a volcano. So I decided to do the investigating myself. I bought a GPS tracker online. One of those tiny magnetic ones that you can stick under a car. The website said they were for tracking teenage drivers or elderly parents with dementia. They didn't mention cheating husbands, but I bet that's what half their sales were for. It arrived in 2 days, disguised in an Amazon box so David wouldn't question it. I had become an expert at ordering things when he wasn't home, intercepting packages like a spy. Installing it was harder than I expected. I had to wait for the perfect moment. David usually parked in the garage, and he would notice if I was lingering around his BMW for no reason. But one evening, he came home late from the gym and parked in the driveway because he was going out again in an hour for a client emergency. I pretended to be getting something from my own car and quickly attached the tracker under his rear bumper. My heart was pounding so hard I was sure the neighbors could hear it. The tracker app on my phone became my obsession. I watched that little red dot move around the city like it was the most interesting movie ever made. Most of the time, it went where David said it would. The office. The gym. The golf club. But then came the anomalies. The stops at an address I didn't recognize in the middle of the day. The evenings when he said he was at the office but the dot was somewhere else entirely. The weekend when he was supposedly golfing but spent 4 hours at that same mystery address. The address was 47 Maple Grove Lane. A nice neighborhood about 20 minutes from our house. Not as upscale as ours, but respectable. The kind of place young professionals lived before they made it big. I drove by one day when David was at work. It was a small Victorian house, painted pale yellow with white trim. Flower boxes in the windows. A Mini Cooper in the driveway with a yoga sticker on the back window. Everything about it screamed single woman. I needed to know more about who lived there. This required careful planning. I couldn't just knock on the door and ask. I couldn't let David know I was investigating. So I got creative. First, I did a reverse address search online. The property was owned by someone named Jessica Chin. 28 years old according to the public records. I found her on social media easily enough. She was pretty in that fresh-faced, natural way that made my carefully maintained 40-year-old face feel like a mask. Long black hair. Big brown eyes. A smile that looked genuine in every photo, not practiced like mine had become. She was a marketing consultant. Self-employed. Her Instagram was full of inspirational quotes about following your dreams and photos from exotic vacations. There were no photos of David on her public profiles, but why would there be? Affairs thrive in shadows, not on social media. I spent hours studying her online presence. Learning her routines. She posted her morning runs on Instagram stories. Tuesday yoga class. Thursday night wine with girlfriends. Saturday morning farmers market. She was living the life I had at 28 before I gave it up to support David's dreams. The more I learned about Jessica, the more the affair made sense. She was everything I had been before marriage had worn down my edges. Young. Independent. Uncomplicated. She didn't know about David's snoring, his mood swings when deals fell through, his mother's passive-aggressive comments, or the way he left wet towels on the bathroom floor no matter how many times I asked him not to. She got the best version of him. The charming, successful businessman who probably told her his marriage was all but over, that he and his wife were just roommates staying together for appearances. I know that's what he told her because I heard him say it. That's right. I heard him. This is where my investigation went to another level. I bought a voice-activated recorder. Another online purchase, another discreet package. It was smaller than a pack of gum, with a battery that lasted 30 hours. The plan formed slowly in my mind. I needed to get it into David's car somehow. But not just randomly. I needed to do it before one of his trips to Jessica's house. The opportunity came on a Friday. David mentioned casually at breakfast that he had a late meeting that evening. The GPS tracker had shown him going to Jessica's house the last 3 Friday evenings, so I knew this was probably another lie. After he left for work, I spent the day preparing. I charged the recorder fully. I tested it multiple times to make sure it was working. I practiced reaching under his driver's seat quickly, finding the perfect spot where it wouldn't be seen but would pick up conversation clearly. When David came home to change before his meeting, I was ready. I had spilled coffee on his car keys, apologizing profusely while cleaning them off. While he was in the shower, I took the cleaned keys out to his car to make sure the remote still worked. In reality, I was placing the recorder under his seat, my hands steady now with purpose instead of shaking with nerves. David left at 7:30, kissing my cheek absently while checking his phone. "Don't wait up," he said. "This might go late." "Be safe," I replied, meaning something entirely different than he thought. I watched the GPS tracker. Sure enough, the red dot went straight to 47 Maple Grove Lane. It stayed there for 3 hours. 3 hours while I sat in my perfect house, in my perfect living room, watching mindless TV and waiting. Waiting to retrieve the recorder. Waiting to hear the truth. David came home at 11, slightly drunk, smelling of perfume that wasn't mine. He mumbled something about the client ordering too much wine and went straight to bed. I waited another hour until his snoring told me he was deeply asleep, then crept down to the garage. The recorder was right where I'd left it. My hands shook again as I brought it inside, connected it to my laptop with headphones, and prepared to listen. At first, there was just the sound of driving. Radio playing softly. David humming along to some classic rock song. Then his phone rang through the car's Bluetooth. "Hey, beautiful." His voice was warm, affectionate. The voice he used to use with me. "Are you on your way?" Jessica's voice was exactly what I expected. Young. Bright. Excited. "Just left. I'll be there in 20. Told Sarah I had a late meeting." My name in his mouth, part of a lie, made my stomach turn. Jessica laughed. "Poor Sarah. Does she really not suspect anything?" "Sarah doesn't suspect a thing. She's too busy planning her book club meetings and reorganizing the pantry for the 3rd time this month. I swear, sometimes I think she forgets I exist unless she needs someone to show off at charity events." Every word was a knife. Every laugh between them twisted it deeper. "Well, her loss is my gain," Jessica said. "I made dinner. That pasta you like. You're amazing. See, this is what I mean. You actually care about making me happy. Sarah just cares about looking like the perfect wife to everyone else." "When are you going to leave her, David?" "It's been 6 months. I'm tired of being your secret." 6 months. They'd been together 6 months. Since September. Right when the gym visits started. David sighed in the recording. "Soon, baby. I promise. I just need to move some assets around first. Make sure she doesn't take me to the cleaners in the divorce. My lawyer says if I can prove she's been depressed and unstable, I might be able to negotiate a better settlement." Depressed and unstable? I wanted to throw my laptop across the room. "How are you going to prove that?" Jessica asked. "I've been documenting things. Every time she has a glass of wine, I write it down as excessive drinking. Every time she gets upset about something, I frame it as an emotional outburst. I've even been suggesting she seems tired and unhappy to our friends, planting seeds. When I file, I'll have a pattern of behavior to point to." The calculation of it took my breath away. While I had been trying to save our marriage, he had been building a case against me. While I had been wondering if I was imagining things, he had been gaslighting me to our entire social circle. The recording continued for another hour. Their dinner. Their flirting. Their disgusting baby talk that made me grateful I hadn't eaten. And then, the sounds I won't describe here because even now, even after everything, some humiliations are too deep to share. I sat in the dark of my home office until sunrise, playing certain parts over and over. Not the intimate parts, but the parts where David discussed his plan. His timeline. His strategy for destroying me financially and socially. By the time the sun came up, my sadness had crystallized into something harder. Anger. No, more than anger. Fury. Cold, calculated fury. David thought he was smart. David thought he was 10 steps ahead. David had no idea who he was dealing with. I had spent 15 years learning to be the perfect wife. But before that, I had been something else. I had been valedictorian of my high school. Summa cum laude from college. The youngest senior analyst my company had ever promoted. I had given up my career, not my intelligence. And now, all that dormant strategic thinking was waking up, focused on one goal, destroying David the way he planned to destroy me, but better. The first thing I did was create my own documentation. I backed up the recording in 3 different places. Cloud storage, a USB drive I hid in my tampon box, and an email to a new account David didn't know about. Then I started my own timeline, working backwards from what I now knew. September, the affair began. I found hotel receipts from a business trip to the city that coincided with Jessica's Instagram photos from the same weekend at the same hotel. October, the mysterious charges started appearing. I screenshotted everything. November, David's conferences increased. I mapped his supposed locations against his actual GPS coordinates. December, the holidays when he was distant and distracted. When he bought me generic gifts, but there were charges for designer items I never received. January, New Year's Eve when he left our party early claiming food poisoning, but the tracker showed him at Jessica's until 3 a.m. February, Valentine's Day when he gave me roses from the grocery store, but there was a charge from the expensive florist downtown. The pattern was clear. The evidence was overwhelming. But I needed more. I needed to catch them together, publicly, in a way that would destroy the careful image David had built. That's when the plan began to form. The beautiful, terrible plan that would use David's own technology against him. David was proud of his car. The BMW 7 Series with all the bells and whistles, including the most advanced GPS system available. He bragged about it constantly. How it could reroute in real time based on traffic. How it connected to his phone seamlessly. How it practically drove itself. What David didn't know was that I had been paying attention when he set it up. I knew his passwords. Not his new phone password, but his BMW connected account password. It was the same password he used for everything related to the car. Our anniversary date plus the year we bought the BMW. He thought he was being clever using our anniversary, throwing me off the scent. But I knew David. He was sentimental about his possessions, not our marriage. I tested my access one day when he was at work. I logged into the BMW connected app from my laptop, my heart racing as I waited to see if it would work. Success. I could see his car's location, fuel level, recent trips. And most importantly, I could send destinations to his navigation system. The feature was meant to be convenient. Plan your route from your computer, send it to your car, and it's ready when you get in. David had showed it off to his friends dozens of times. I can be sitting in my office, find a restaurant, and boom, it's already programmed into my car. The future is now, boys. The future was indeed now. Just not the future David expected. I spent 2 weeks perfecting my plan. Learning the system inside and out. Practicing sending destinations and then deleting the history. Timing how long it took for the navigation to update. Testing whether David would notice if a destination was already programmed when he got in his car. The answer was no. David was always distracted when he got in his car. Always on his phone, always thinking about his next move. He just pressed start on whatever address was there, trusting his perfect technology to take him where he needed to go. During those 2 weeks, I also did something else. I reached out to a divorce lawyer. Not openly, not yet. But through a friend of a friend, someone David didn't know. I learned about evidence admissibility. About financial protection. About how to document assets before they could be hidden. I opened my own bank account at a different bank, moving small amounts that David wouldn't notice. I photographed every document in his home office. I backed up his computer files to an external drive. I prepared for war while David thought we were at peace. I also started performing for David. Becoming the wife he was describing to justify his affair. I had a glass of wine every night with dinner, sometimes two, making sure he saw me. I cried during sad commercials. I mentioned feeling tired, overwhelmed, possibly depressed. I gave him the ammunition he thought he needed while secretly documenting his lies. The hardest part was continuing to sleep in the same bed. Continuing to kiss him goodbye in the morning. Continuing to play the oblivious wife while my insides burned with rage. But I had learned something important from listening to David plan my destruction: patience was everything. Strike too soon, and you might wound but not kill. Wait for the perfect moment, and you could destroy everything. The perfect moment presented itself in the form of David's company anniversary party. A huge event at the country club celebrating 20 years of his business. All his clients would be there. All his employees. All our friends. The mayor was even coming. David had been planning it for months, calling it his crowning achievement. It was scheduled for a Saturday night in April. The Saturday before, I watched David's GPS tracker make its usual Friday night trip to Jessica's house. But this time, something was different. He stayed all night. The tracker didn't move until Saturday afternoon. When he came home Saturday evening, he had a new story. Emergency client situation in Boston. I have to fly out Thursday morning. I'll be back Saturday afternoon, just in time for the party. Boston. Sure. I smiled and nodded, the perfect supportive wife. That's cutting it close. What if your flight is delayed? It won't be. I'm taking the company jet. The company jet that I knew from Patricia wasn't scheduled to fly anywhere that week. Want me to pack for you? I offered sweetly. No, I've got it. It's just 2 days. 2 days in Boston. Or 2 days and 3 nights at Jessica's house, coming back just in time to play successful businessmen at his party. The arrogance of it. The assumption that I was too stupid to figure it out. That's what sealed his fate. I spent Sunday through Wednesday finalizing everything. I confirmed with the divorce lawyer that the evidence I had was more than sufficient. I made copies of all our financial documents and stored them in a safety deposit box only I knew about. I packed a suitcase and hid it in the guest room closet. I printed the divorce papers and had them ready. I also did something else. I reached out to Jessica. Not directly, of course. I created a fake Facebook profile. Emma Williams, a fellow marketing consultant looking to network. I sent Jessica a message about potentially collaborating on projects. She responded enthusiastically. We exchanged a few messages about marketing trends, and then I mentioned I was looking for a venue for a client event on Saturday evening. Did she know any good places? I wish I could help, she wrote back, but I'm actually hosting someone special this weekend. Taking the whole Saturday off, which is rare for me. Someone special. My husband. Thursday morning came. David packed his suitcase with the care of someone who was definitely not going to Boston for business. New cologne. His best casual clothes. The watch I gave him for our 10th anniversary. Have a good trip, I said, kissing him goodbye at the door. See you Saturday. Don't forget, the party starts at 7. Maybe wear that blue dress I like? Of course. I'll be perfect. I would indeed be perfect. Just not in the way he expected. As soon as David's car left the driveway, I sprang into action. First, I confirmed on the tracker that he was heading toward Jessica's house, not the airport. No surprise there. Then I logged into his BMW connected account and scheduled a destination to be sent to his car at exactly 4 p.m. on Saturday. The destination? 47 Maple Grove Lane. David would think he was driving to the country club for his party. The navigation would tell him otherwise. And by the time he realized what was happening, it would be too late. But I wasn't done. I had 3 days to prepare the ultimate revelation. First, I called Patricia at David's office. I want to surprise David at the party, I said. Can you help me put together a video montage of his business journey? Photos from over the years, messages from clients, that sort of thing? Patricia was thrilled to help. She had no idea she was helping me document David's timeline of lies. Next, I hired a photographer. Not for the party, but for Saturday afternoon. It's a surprise announcement, I told him. I need someone discreet who can capture genuine reactions. Then I went shopping. Not for a dress for the party, but for something else entirely. A new outfit. Sharp. Professional. The kind of thing I used to wear when I was building my own career. The kind of thing that said I was a force to be reckoned with. I also bought something else. A billboard. Yes, a billboard. One of those electronic ones on Route 9, the main road everyone would take to get to the country club. It was expensive, but I had been moving money from our joint account for weeks. David never checked it anyway. That was wife stuff. The billboard would display a message from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. on Saturday. Peak time when everyone would be driving to the party. Thursday night, I tracked David to Jessica's house. He texted me that he had landed safely in Boston and was heading to his hotel. I texted back heart emojis and told him I missed him already. Then I opened a bottle of wine, not to drink but to leave half empty on the counter for him to find when he got back. Evidence of my instability. Friday was preparation day. I confirmed everything twice. The photographer was ready. The billboard was programmed. The GPS destination was scheduled. The divorce papers were in my purse. David's suitcase from the guest room was in my car. Everything he would need for his new life with Jessica. How thoughtful of me. I also did one more thing. I called the country club and added something to the party program. A special speech from the devoted wife, right before dinner. They were touched by my dedication to my husband. If only they knew. Saturday morning arrived gray and drizzly, perfect weather for what was about to happen. I tracked David's location. Still at Jessica's. I imagined them having a lazy morning in bed, maybe making breakfast together, laughing about how clueless I was. Enjoying their last few hours of secret bliss. At noon, I got my hair and makeup done. Not fancy, just polished. Professional. I wanted to look like myself, not the trophy wife I had become. At 1, I ate lunch. Protein and vegetables. I needed energy for what was coming. At 2, I did something I hadn't done in years. I meditated. Centered myself. Found the eye of the storm inside me where everything was calm and clear. At 3, I got dressed in my new outfit. Black pants, crisp white shirt, blazer. I looked like someone you didn't want to mess with. I looked like the woman I used to be. At 3:30, I sent David a text. Can't wait to see you tonight. The blue dress is ready. He texted back immediately. Just leaving the client's office now. Should be at the venue by 5:30 to help with setup. The client's office. In Boston. While his GPS showed him still at Jessica's house. The lies came so easily to him now. At 3:45, I got in my car with my purse full of divorce papers and David's suitcase in the trunk. The photographer was meeting me at a coffee shop near Jessica's house. At 4 exactly, as I was driving toward Maple Grove Lane, I knew David's GPS was updating. I pictured him getting in his car, probably kissing Jessica goodbye, promising to call her after his boring party with his boring wife. Starting the car and seeing the destination already programmed, assuming he had set it earlier for the country club. Pressing start without looking at the actual address. It would take him about 10 minutes to realize something was wrong. 10 minutes of driving while thinking about his party, his success, his double life perfectly balanced. 10 minutes before he noticed he was going the wrong direction. I arrived at the coffee shop at 4:15 and met the photographer, a young guy named Marcus who was eager for the job even if he didn't understand it. We're going to be documenting a surprise, I told him. Just be ready to capture everything. Every reaction. Every moment. Like a proposal? He asked excitedly. Something like that. But the opposite. By 4:30, we were positioned outside Jessica's house. I was standing on her front porch with the divorce papers in one hand and David's suitcase beside me. Marcus was across the street with his camera, partially hidden behind a tree. The stage was set. I had spent so much time imagining this moment over the past 3 weeks. Would I cry? Would I scream? Would I fall apart? But standing there on Jessica's porch, I felt nothing but calm. The kind of calm that comes when you know you're exactly where you're supposed to be, doing exactly what you're supposed to do. At 4:35, I saw David's BMW turn onto Maple Grove Lane. I could see him through the windshield, his face confused, looking at his GPS and then at the street signs. He was probably trying to figure out how he had made a wrong turn. Then he saw the house number. 47, his face changed from confusion to shock. He looked around frantically, probably checking if any neighbors were watching. Then he saw me. I wish I had a photo of that exact moment. The moment David realized his world was about to collapse. His mouth opened but no sound came out. His hands gripped the steering wheel so tight his knuckles went white. For a second, I thought he might just drive away. But he didn't. He pulled into the driveway and parked behind Jessica's Mini Cooper, moving like a man in a dream. Or a nightmare. He got out of the car slowly, his party clothes suddenly looking ridiculous. He had changed to Jessica's, wearing his best suit, the one I had picked out for him last Christmas. His lucky tie, the one he wore to important meetings. He looked like he was going to a celebration. Which, in a way, he was. Just not his own. Sarah. My name came out of his mouth like a question, like he wasn't sure I was real. Hello, David. Surprise. He took a step forward, then stopped. His eyes went from me to the suitcase to the papers in my hand. Even from 10 feet away, I could see him trying to calculate his next move. The business brain working overtime. I can explain, he started, the words every cheater says when they're caught. No need. I already know everything. 6 months, David. 6 months of lies. 6 months of making me think I was going crazy. 6 months of planning to destroy me while you built a new life with her. The front door opened behind me. Jessica stepped out, probably wondering why David was standing in her driveway instead of coming inside. She was wearing a silk robe, her hair messy, her face glowing with the satisfaction of a woman who thought she had one. Then she saw me. Oh my God. Her hand went to her mouth, the classic gesture of shock. Hello, Jessica. I'm Sarah. The wife. The one who doesn't suspect a thing. The one who's too busy with book clubs and pantry organizing to notice her husband's affair. Jessica looked at David, then at me, then back at David. You said you were separated. You said you were getting divorced. He says a lot of things. How's this for truth? He went home to me every night after leaving your bed. We had anniversary dinner last month. He told me he loved me this morning. Well, texted it from your house while pretending to be in Boston. David found his voice. Sarah, let's not do this here. Let's go home and talk. Home? You mean the home where you've been documenting my instability to use against me in the divorce you've been planning? The home where you've been moving assets to hide them from me? That home? His face went white. He didn't know about the recording. He didn't know I knew about his plan. Oh yes, David. I know everything. Every single thing. Including your little conversation about how pathetic I am. How I only care about appearances. How Jessica here actually cares about making you happy. Jessica stepped forward. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know you were still together. I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. I believe you. David's very good at lying. He's had 15 years of practice with me. But here's what you need to know about the man you've been sleeping with. While he was telling you he loved you, he was telling me the same thing. While he was planning a future with you, he was planning to destroy me financially and socially. He's been telling our friends I'm unstable. He's been documenting fake evidence of alcoholism and depression. He's not leaving me for you. He's trying to destroy me so he can keep his money and reputation. I held up the papers. But I got there first. Divorce papers, David. Already filed. With evidence of your affair, your hidden assets, your defamation campaign against me. Your lawyer, the one you've been secretly meeting? He's about to find out his client has been lying to him too. David's phone started ringing. Then pinging with texts. The party. People wondering where he was. Oh, that would be your guests arriving at the country club. Patricia did such a wonderful job with the video montage of your career. I especially like the part where she accidentally included the receipt for your Boston trip that shows you never actually booked a flight. And the billboard on Route 9 is getting a lot of attention. David Morrison, successful businessman, terrible husband. Has a nice ring to it, doesn't it? You didn't. His voice was barely a whisper. I did. Everyone you care about impressing is going to know exactly who you are by the end of tonight. Your clients. Your employees. The mayor. They're all going to know that while they were celebrating your success, you were lying to your wife and planning to destroy her. Jessica backed toward her door. I want you both to leave. Now. I picked up David's suitcase and rolled it toward him. His things. I thought he might be staying here tonight. And tomorrow night. And every night after that. Though you might want to reconsider. If he'll do this to someone he promised to love, honor, and cherish, what do you think he'll do to you? David finally moved, grabbing the suitcase and moving toward me. Sarah, please. We can work this out. 15 years, Sarah. Don't throw it all away. I'm not throwing anything away. You already did that. Every time you chose her bed over ours. Every time you lied about where you were. Every time you plotted against me while I was trying to save our marriage. Marcus, the photographer, was capturing everything. Every expression on David's face as his world crumbled. Every tear that Jessica was trying not to cry. Every moment of my complete calm in the center of this storm. You hired a photographer? David's voice cracked. For the divorce proceedings. Documentation is important, as you taught me. Speaking of which, you're meeting with your lawyer on Tuesday? The one where you were going to file first? Cancelled. He got a package from me this morning with all the evidence of your lies. Apparently, lawyers don't like it when clients lie to them about hiding assets. My phone buzzed. A text from Patricia at the country club. Where are you? Everyone's asking about the speech. I smiled. I have to go, David. I have a speech to give at your party. Don't worry, I'll explain why you couldn't make it. I'm sure everyone will understand that you had more important priorities than the company you spent 20 years building. I started walking toward my car, my heels clicking on the driveway with purpose. David followed me, grabbing my arm. Not hard, but enough to stop me. Sarah, wait. Please. I'll do anything. I'll go to counseling. I'll end it with Jessica. I'll sign whatever you want. Just please don't do this. Not tonight. Not in front of everyone. I looked at his hand on my arm, then at his face. For a moment, I saw the man I married. The young guy in the too big suit who made my heart skip. But that man was gone. Maybe he never really existed. You'll sign whatever I want? Start with these. I handed him the divorce papers. And David? Let go of my arm. He released me immediately, taking the papers with shaking hands. My lawyer will be in touch on Monday. I want the house, half of everything, and alimony. You can fight it if you want, but we both know how that will go. I have recordings, David. Your own voice planning my destruction. Your own voice calling me pathetic. Your own voice admitting to the affair and the lies. Jessica had gone back inside, slamming the door. The sound echoed in the suburban quiet. Somewhere, a dog barked. Normal Saturday afternoon sounds while my marriage officially ended in a stranger's driveway. I got in my car, started the engine, and looked at David one last time through the window. He was still standing there, holding the divorce papers, looking like he had aged 10 years in 10 minutes. His perfect suit wrinkled, his lucky tie crooked, his whole life in ruins. I didn't feel satisfaction. Not yet. That would come later. Right now, I just felt free. The drive to the country club took 20 minutes. 20 minutes to transform from wronged wife to empowered woman. I touched up my lipstick at a red light. Straightened my blazer. Practiced my speech in my head one more time. The parking lot was full when I arrived. BMWs and Mercedes and Teslas all lined up like expensive dominoes. Inside, I could hear music, laughter, the clink of champagne glasses. David's world, celebrating David's success, about to learn David's truth. Patricia rushed over as soon as I walked in. Sarah! Thank God. Where's David? Everyone's asking. He's been delayed. But the show must go on, right? Is everything ready for the speech? Yes, the microphone is set up. The video will play right after. But shouldn't we wait for David? No. In fact, the speech is going to be a little different than planned. You might want to grab a drink first. She looked confused but nodded, heading toward the bar. I made my way to the small stage at the front of the ballroom. 300 people, all dressed in their finest, all here to celebrate my husband. Former husband. Soon-to-be ex-husband. I recognized so many faces. The Johnsons from down the street, who David had told that I was drinking too much. His golf buddies, who he had convinced I was depressed. Clients who had been to our home for dinner parties where I played the perfect hostess while David was texting Jessica from the bathroom. I tapped the microphone. The room slowly quieted, faces turning toward me with expectant smiles. Good evening, everyone. I'm Sarah Morrison, David's wife. A pause. Though that title will be changing soon. Confused murmurs rippled through the crowd. I was supposed to give a speech tonight about David's journey, his success, his dedication to building this company. And I will. But I'm also going to tell you about another journey. A journey of deception that's been happening parallel to the one you all thought you knew. Someone dropped a glass. The sound of shattering crystal punctuated my words perfectly. 6 months ago, my husband began an affair. While he was telling you all about his happy marriage, he was spending nights at another woman's house. While he was accepting your congratulations on our 15th anniversary, he was planning to divorce me and destroy me financially. While he was pretending to be the perfect businessman, husband, and friend, he was living a double life. The room was completely silent now. 300 people holding their breath. I found out 2 months ago. But instead of confronting him immediately, I did what David taught me to do in business. I gathered intelligence. I documented everything. I prepared for war while my opponent thought we were at peace. I pulled out my phone, connected it to the sound system, and played a short clip from David's recorded conversation. His voice filled the ballroom. Sarah doesn't suspect a thing. She's too busy planning her book club meetings and reorganizing the pantry for the 3rd time this month. Then Jessica's voice, when are you going to leave her? David's response, soon, baby. I promise. I just need to move some assets around first. Make sure she doesn't take me to the cleaners in the divorce. I stopped the recording. Several people gasped. Mrs. Johnson covered her mouth with her hand. David's business partner, Tom, looked like he might be sick. That conversation happened 3 weeks ago, while David was supposedly at a client meeting. The woman you heard is Jessica Chen, a 28-year-old marketing consultant who lives at 47 Maple Grove Lane. The woman David is with right now instead of being here with all of you. The murmurs grew louder. People were pulling out their phones, probably texting David, demanding answers. But here's the part that really matters to all of you. While David was having this affair, he was also conducting a campaign to damage my reputation. Telling you all that I was drinking too much, that I was depressed, that I was unstable. Creating a narrative that would justify his actions when he eventually filed for divorce. Some of you believed him. Some of you have been looking at me with pity, thinking poor Sarah, falling apart while David holds everything together. I made eye contact with specific people as I spoke. The ones who had whispered about me at the last charity gala. The ones who had asked David if I was okay while I was standing right there. I'm here to tell you that I'm not falling apart. I'm not unstable. I'm not an alcoholic. What I am is a woman who gave up her career to support her husband's dreams, only to have him try to destroy me when someone younger came along. What I am is evidence that success without integrity is just failure dressed in an expensive suit. Tom stood up from his table. Sarah, are you saying David's not coming tonight? That's exactly what I'm saying, Tom. When given the choice between being here with all of you, celebrating the company you helped him build, or being with his mistress, he chose her. Though to be fair, he didn't know it was a choice. He thought he was driving here. I may have had something to do with his GPS taking him somewhere else. A few people actually laughed at that. Dark laughter, but laughter nonetheless. I know this is shocking. I know this isn't what you expected tonight. But you deserve the truth. You've all invested in David's company, in David's vision, in David's integrity. You deserve to know that the man you've been celebrating is not who he pretended to be. Patricia appeared at the side of the stage, her face pale. She held up her phone, mouthing David's calling. I shook my head. Before I go, I want to say something to the women in this room. The wives who gave up their careers. The mothers who made themselves smaller so their husbands could be bigger. The women who smiled at these parties while dying inside. You are not crazy. You are not imagining things. Your feelings are valid. Your contributions matter. And you deserve better than men who see you as accessories to their success. I set the microphone back on the stand. The party is paid for, so please, enjoy the food and drinks. Consider it David's last gift to you all. Though I should mention, if you're driving home on Route 9, you might notice a billboard with an interesting message. That one's my gift to David. I walked off the stage and through the silent crowd. As I reached the door, the silence broke. Voices erupted behind me. Shock, anger, disbelief, and yes, some support. I heard one woman say loudly, "Good for her." David always was an arrogant ass. Outside, the evening air was cool and clean. I stood in the parking lot for a moment, breathing deeply. My phone was exploding with texts and calls. David, repeatedly. Patricia. Tom. Numbers I didn't recognize. I turned it off. Marcus, the photographer, was waiting by my car. He had followed me from Jessica's house. Did you get what you needed? He asked, looking slightly shell-shocked. Everything. Send me all the photos by tomorrow, please. That was intense. I've never seen anything like that. Hopefully you never will again. He left, and I sat in my car for a moment, processing what had just happened. In the span of 2 hours, I had destroyed David's reputation, ended my marriage publicly, and freed myself from 15 years of slowly disappearing. I should have felt something more. Sadness, maybe. Regret. But all I felt was lighter, like I had been carrying rocks in my pocket for years and finally emptied them out. I drove home the long way, passing the billboard on Route 9. It was beautiful in its simplicity. David's professional headshot next to the words, "Success in business, failure in marriage." David Morrison chose his mistress over his marriage. Integrity matters. Cars were slowing down to read it. Some were probably heading to the party. They would arrive already knowing the truth. When I got home, the house felt different. Not empty, just different. Like it was waiting to become something new. I walked through each room, seeing it with fresh eyes. The formal dining room where we never ate. The living room designed to impress rather than comfort. The kitchen with its cold granite and stainless steel. David's choices, all of them. I had gone along to keep peace, to be the supportive wife. No more. I poured myself a glass of wine, a real one this time, not for show. I sat on the back porch and watched the sunset paint the sky orange and pink. Somewhere across town, David was probably trying to salvage his reputation, making frantic phone calls, spinning new lies. Jessica was probably wondering what she had gotten herself into. The party guests were probably gossiping over their expensive champagne. But here, in my backyard with the roses I had planted, everything was quiet. My phone, when I finally turned it back on, had 47 missed calls and over 100 texts. I scrolled through them without reading most. But one caught my eye. From Linda, a woman I knew from the gym whose husband had left her 2 years ago for his secretary. "Sarah, you are my hero. What you did tonight took guts. If you need anything, a friend, a lawyer recommendation, or just someone to drink wine with, I'm here." Then another, from Tom's wife, "I've suspected David was a snake for years. Tom's probably freaking out about the business, but I'm proud of you." That took courage. And another, from a number I didn't recognize, "You don't know me, but I was at the party tonight. My husband has been acting strange lately, and watching you speak gave me the courage to trust my instincts. Thank you." I realized something then. My story wasn't just mine. It belonged to every woman who had been gaslit, diminished, replaced. Every woman who had been told she was crazy for suspecting the truth. Every woman who had sacrificed her own identity for someone who didn't value it. David finally showed up at 11 p.m. I heard his car in the driveway, the front door slamming, his footsteps heavy on the stairs. I stayed on the porch, waiting. He found me there, still in his party suit, looking like he had been through a war. His hair was messed up, his tie completely undone, his face red and blotchy. "How could you do this to me?" His voice was raw, desperate. "The same way you did it to me. Deliberately. Calculatedly. Completely. You destroyed everything. My reputation. My business. Everything I worked for. No, David. You destroyed everything. I just made sure everyone knew about it." He collapsed into the chair across from me, his head in his hands. "The board wants me to step down. Tom says the clients are threatening to leave. The mayor left before dinner. Consequences. They're what happen when people find out who you really are." "And Jessica? What about her?" "She won't answer my calls. Her roommate says she packed a bag and left." I almost laughed. "So she abandoned you the moment things got difficult?" Shocking. It's almost like relationships built on lies don't last. David looked up at me, and for a moment, I saw real pain in his eyes. I loved her. Those 3 words hurt more than I expected. Not because he loved someone else, but because he said it so easily. Like it was simple. Like love was just something you felt, not something you chose every day, especially on the days when it was hard. No, you didn't. You loved how she made you feel. Young. Successful. Desired. You loved the fantasy. But love, real love? That's what I gave you for 15 years while you were planning my destruction. I never meant for it to go this far. Yes, you did. You documented fake evidence against me. You consulted a lawyer. You moved money. You meant every bit of it. We sat in silence for a while. The night sounds of the neighborhood filled the space between us. A car door. A dog barking. Normal sounds of a normal night, except nothing would ever be normal again. What happens now? David asked finally. Now you sign the divorce papers. You move out tomorrow. You give me what I'm asking for without a fight, because we both know I have enough evidence to destroy what's left of your reputation if you don't. Where will I go? That's not my problem anymore. Maybe Jessica will take you back. Maybe you'll find another 28-year-old who believes your lies. Maybe you'll actually learn something from this, though I doubt it. David stood up slowly, like an old man. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. No, you're not. You're sorry you got caught. You're sorry there were consequences. You're sorry your perfect plan didn't work. But sorry for hurting me? Sorry for wasting 15 years of my life? Sorry for trying to destroy me? No, David. You're not sorry for any of that. He walked toward the door, then paused. The billboard. How long will it stay up? A month. I bought a whole month. Consider it a reminder that actions have consequences. A month? That's cruel. Cruel? Let me tell you about cruel. Cruel is making your wife think she's going crazy. Cruel is planning to destroy her financially while sleeping in her bed. Cruel is telling another woman you love her while your wife is at home planning your anniversary party. That's cruel. The billboard? That's justice. He left then, disappearing into the house. I heard him in his office, probably trying to figure out how to salvage his business. I heard him in our bedroom, packing more clothes. I heard him on the phone, his voice desperate, leaving messages for people who weren't answering. At midnight, he came back out with 2 suitcases. I'll stay at the Marriott tonight. We can talk about the details tomorrow. Monday. Through lawyers. Don't contact me directly again. He nodded, defeated. As he walked to his car, he turned back one more time. I did love you once. In the beginning. That was real. Maybe it was. But you killed it yourself, one lie at a time. I watched his taillights disappear down our street for the last time. Then I went inside, locked the door, and stood in my empty house. My house now. Not ours. Mine. The silence was different than before. Not heavy with secrets and lies, but light with possibility. I could redecorate every room. I could eat dinner in front of the TV. I could leave dishes in the sink. I could be myself again, whoever that was now. I walked through the house turning off lights, each switch a small goodbye to the life I had lived. In the bedroom, David's closet stood half empty, his absence already visible. Good. I would turn it into something else. An office maybe. Or just a place to store things that made me happy. My phone buzzed with another text. This one from my sister in California, just saw the news on Facebook. David's partner Tom posted something about personal attacks and privacy. Are you okay? Do you need me to fly out? I texted back, I'm better than okay. And yes, come visit. We'll drink wine and plan my new life. Sunday arrived with bright sunshine, almost mockingly cheerful. I woke up in the middle of our king-size bed, sprawled out like a starfish, taking up all the space I had carefully kept to my side for years. The doorbell rang at 9 a.m. Patricia stood on my porch with coffee and bagels. "I figured you might need these," she said, holding up the bags. "You're fired, aren't you?" I asked, letting her in. "Quit, actually. After last night, I couldn't work for him anymore." 20 years, Sarah. I gave that company 20 years, and he threw it all away for an affair. We sat at my kitchen table, the one David had chosen because it looked expensive, and ate bagels while Patricia filled me in on the aftermath. Tom's trying to do damage control, but 3 major clients have already pulled out. The board held an emergency meeting this morning. David's been placed on administrative leave pending a full review. He built that company from nothing. And he destroyed it for nothing. That's the part one don't understand. He had everything. A successful business, a beautiful wife, respect in the community. Why risk it all? Because he thought he could have it all. The wife at home, the mistress on the side, the reputation intact. He thought he was smarter than everyone else. Patricia's phone buzzed. She showed me the screen. Local news had picked up the story. Prominent businessman's wife exposes affair at company party. There was a photo of the billboard. "You've gone viral," Patricia said. The billboard photo has been shared over 10,000 times since last night. I hadn't expected that. I had only wanted David's circle to know, not the entire internet. But maybe that was better. Maybe other women needed to see that you could fight back. That you didn't have to quietly accept betrayal and humiliation. My phone rang. A number I didn't recognize. "Hello? Mrs. Morrison? This is Jennifer Walsh from Channel 6 News. We'd like to interview you about last night's events." "No, thank you. We could tell your side of the story. Make sure people understand why you did what you did." They already understand. Woman discovers affair, woman exposes affair, woman divorces cheating husband. It's not that complicated. I hung up. Within an hour, 3 more reporters called. I didn't answer. By noon, David was texting from his hotel room. I had told him not to contact me, but of course he didn't listen. He never did. The news is everywhere. "You've ruined my life." I didn't respond. Jessica left town. Her business is getting horrible reviews online. "You've destroyed her too." Still didn't respond. "Please, Sarah. Call them off. Make a statement that it was a misunderstanding. I'll give you everything you want in the divorce." Finally, I texted back, "You already agreed to give me everything I want. And I didn't call anyone. You did this yourself." The week that followed was surreal. The story had taken on a life of its own. The billboard became a tourist attraction, with people taking selfies in front of it. Someone started a hashtag GPS Revenge. Women from all over the country started sharing their own stories of discovering affairs and fighting back. I hired the divorce lawyer Linda had recommended, a woman named Ruth who had gone through her own messy divorce 10 years earlier. She looked at my evidence and actually whistled. "This is the most comprehensive documentation I've ever seen. He doesn't have a leg to stand on." I learned from the best. David taught me to always document everything in business. I just applied it to marriage. The divorce negotiations were swift. David's lawyer, the one he had been planning to use against me, was furious about being lied to. He advised David to give me whatever I wanted to make it go away quickly. The house, half of all assets, substantial alimony, and a restraining order keeping David from coming within 500 feet of me. David signed everything without argument. His business was hemorrhaging clients and money. His reputation was destroyed. Fighting me would only make things worse. 3 weeks after the party, I was officially divorced. The fastest divorce Ruth had ever handled. He just wanted it over, she told me. I've never seen a man so eager to sign papers. I kept the house but decided to sell it. Too many memories, too much of David's taste everywhere. I bought a smaller place closer to downtown. A condo with big windows and wood floors and a kitchen designed for actually cooking, not just impressing guests. Patricia helped me pack. We had become real friends through this whole ordeal, bonded by our shared disillusionment with David. You know what the craziest part is? She said, wrapping my wedding china in newspaper. He called me yesterday asking if I could help him rebuild his reputation. Like I would just forget everything and come back. What did you say? I told him my new boss would never approve. Then I mentioned that my new boss is opening her own data consulting firm and could probably use his client list, since they're all leaving him anyway. I looked at her in surprise. Your new boss? If you'll have me. You are always the smart one, Sarah. David just took credit for your ideas. Remember the Henderson account? That strategy was all you. And the Patterson merger? You figured out the numbers that made it work. She was right. I had been so focused on supporting David that I had forgotten my own contributions. My own abilities. My own worth. I haven't worked in data analysis in over a decade. It's like riding a bike. Plus, you just executed the most thorough data collection and analysis project I've ever seen. You tracked David's movements, documented his finances, predicted his behavior patterns, and executed a strategic plan flawlessly. If that's not data analysis, I don't know what is. She had a point. I had used all my old skills for the divorce. Maybe it was time to use them for something constructive. We started the business 2 months after the divorce. Morrison Consulting. I kept the last name out of spite and because it had recognition now, even if that recognition came from scandal. Our first client was one of David's former biggest accounts. They liked the irony of hiring his ex-wife. They liked even more that I actually knew what I was doing. Within 6 months, we had 10 employees and more clients than we could handle. Turns out, there was a market for a consulting firm run by women who understood both data and human nature. Who knew that emotional intelligence could be as valuable as artificial intelligence. David's business, meanwhile, collapsed completely. The last I heard, he was working for a small firm in another state, starting over at 45. Jessica disappeared entirely from social media. Someone told me she moved back in with her parents and was working at a yoga studio. The affair that was worth destroying everything for hadn't even lasted through the scandal. A year after the party, Patricia and I were having lunch when she pulled up something on her phone. You have to see this. It was a Reddit thread titled "My wife redirected my GPS to my mistress's house with her waiting there. I lost everything. AMA. David was doing an Ask Me Anything, trying to gain sympathy by telling his side of the story. The comments were brutal. People called him every name imaginable. Some shared their own stories of being cheated on. Others just wanted to know how he could be so stupid. One comment stood out: "Did you ever actually love your wife?" David's response: "I thought I loved my mistress more, but I realize now I didn't love either of them. I loved the idea of them. My wife was stability and status. My mistress was youth and excitement. I was chasing feelings, not building love." It was the most honest thing I had ever heard him say. I closed the thread and went back to my lunch. I had a presentation that afternoon for a potential $1 million client. My business was thriving. My condo was decorated exactly how I wanted. I had friends who knew the real me, not the performance of me. I had my life back. That night, I stood on my balcony looking out at the city lights. My phone buzzed with a text from a number I hadn't seen in over a year. David, I know you don't want to hear from me, but I wanted you to know I'm in therapy now. Really working on myself. I'm sorry for everything. You deserved better. I started to type a response, then deleted it. Started again, deleted again. Finally, I wrote, I know. I gave myself better. Then I blocked his number for good. 2 years have passed since that night at the country club. The billboard is long gone, but someone turned it into a meme that still circulates occasionally. The story has become local legend, told at dinner parties as a cautionary tale or a revenge fantasy, depending on who's telling it. Patricia and I sold our consulting firm to a larger company for more money than David ever made in his best year. We both stayed on as executives, but now we have resources and reach David could only dream of. The irony is delicious. I'm dating someone now. A man who owns a bookstore downtown, divorced himself, with 2 teenagers who think I'm pretty cool for an old person. He knows my story. Everyone does. But he says what attracted him was watching me read in his store every Saturday morning, completely absorbed in my book, looking peaceful. You looked like someone who had figured out what mattered, he told me on our first date. I had figured it out. What mattered wasn't the big house or the fancy parties or the successful husband. What mattered was integrity. Truth. Being able to look at yourself in the mirror without flinching. What mattered was knowing your worth and refusing to let anyone diminish it. Sometimes I think about that moment on Jessica's porch, watching David's face when he realized his world was ending. I thought I would feel triumph. Victory. But what I actually felt was relief. Like I had been holding my breath for months and could finally exhale. The GPS revenge, as everyone calls it, wasn't really about revenge. It was about reclamation. Taking back my narrative. Taking back my power. Taking back my life. I still get messages from women who have discovered their own partner's affairs. They want advice. A blueprint. Someone to tell them what to do. I always say the same thing, document everything. Trust your instincts. Don't let anyone make you feel crazy for seeing what's right in front of you. And most importantly, remember that the best revenge isn't destroying them. It's rebuilding yourself into someone they could never have deserved. David tried to contact me one more time, a year ago. A handwritten letter sent to my office. It was long, rambling, full of regrets and what-ifs. He said he thinks about that night all the time. How different things could have been if he had just driven to the party instead of Jessica's house. How one GPS route changed everything. But that's where he's wrong. The GPS didn't change everything. His choices did. Every text to Jessica. Every lie to me. Every moment he chose deception over truth. The GPS just revealed what was already broken. I kept the letter. Not out of sentimentality, but as a reminder. A reminder of who I was, who I became, and who I am now. A reminder that sometimes the worst things that happen to us become the catalyst for the best things. The truth is, I should thank David. Not for the affair or the lies or the attempted destruction of my character. But for showing me who he really was in time for me to rebuild my life. For forcing me to remember my own strength. For giving me a story worth telling. And what a story it is. The story of a woman who refused to be a victim. Who turned betrayal into triumph. Who used her husband's own technology against him in the most poetic justice imaginable. Who stood in front of 300 people and spoke her truth without shaking. Who rebuilt her life from the ground up and made it better than before. Sometimes, when I'm driving, my GPS tries to reroute me because of traffic or construction. That electronic voice calmly saying recalculating always makes me smile now. Because that's what I did. I recalculated. I found a better route. One that led me away from David and toward myself. The marriage was a dead end. But the divorce? That was the open road. Looking back now, I realize the signs were everywhere. Not just the obvious ones like new cologne and gym memberships, but the subtle ones. The way David stopped asking about my day. The way he looked through me instead of at me. The way he treated our marriage like a business arrangement he was ready to terminate. But I was so invested in the life we had built that I ignored my instincts. I explained away the distance. I blamed myself for not being interesting enough, attractive enough, young enough. I became smaller trying to fit into the space he was willing to give me. That's what betrayal really does. It doesn't just break trust. It breaks your compass. You start questioning everything you thought you knew, every judgment you make. Was that really suspicious, or am I being paranoid? Is he actually lying, or am I crazy? The gaslighting isn't just about the affair. It's about making you doubt your ability to perceive reality. Finding that first piece of concrete evidence, that text from Alex from marketing, was like finding true north again. Suddenly, everything clicked into place. The late nights made sense. The emotional distance made sense. The way he had started criticizing me more, finding fault with everything I did, made sense. He was building a case for leaving while I was trying to build a stronger marriage. What strikes me most now is the calculated nature of it all. This wasn't a moment of weakness or a mistake. This was a planned campaign. While I was cooking his favorite meals, he was documenting my wine consumption. While I was defending him to friends who said he seemed distant, he was telling those same friends I was unstable. While I was lying next to him at night wondering how to bridge the gap between us, he was texting another woman from our bathroom. The recording I made revealed the depth of his deception, but it also revealed something else. David never really knew me at all. He described me to Jessica as someone obsessed with appearances, someone shallow and boring. After 15 years, that's what he thought of me. Not the woman who had supported him through business failures. Not the woman who had learned everything about his industry to be a better partner. Not the woman who had given up her own dreams for his. Just a pantry organizing, book club attending trophy wife. Maybe that's why the revenge felt so satisfying. Not just because I exposed him, but because I proved him wrong. The boring wife orchestrated a plan he never saw coming. The shallow woman went deeper than he could imagine. The unstable spouse executed everything with surgical precision. But you know what the best part was? It wasn't the billboard or the party speech or even the look on his face when he saw me on Jessica's porch. It was the moment I realized I didn't need his validation anymore. That his opinion of me was just that, an opinion, and a wrong one at that. The women who reached out to me after the story went viral all had similar experiences. Their husbands had affairs with younger women, convinced themselves their wives were the problem, tried to manipulate the narrative to avoid consequences. It's like there's a playbook these men follow, thinking they're each being original and clever. One woman told me her husband had done almost exactly what David did, except he got caught earlier in the process. She confronted him privately, went to counseling, tried to save the marriage. 2 years later, he did it again with someone else. She wished she had been like me, she said. Loud. Public. Unforgiving. But I understood why she wasn't. It takes a particular kind of rage to do what I did. Not hot rage that burns out quickly, but cold rage that builds slowly, methodically. The kind that comes from realizing someone you loved has been deliberately, systematically trying to destroy you while smiling at you across the breakfast table. Patricia told me later that she had suspected the affair for months before I discovered it. Several people had. David wasn't as subtle as he thought. The looks between him and Jessica at company events. The way he would leave meetings to take her calls. The fact that he suddenly cared about his appearance after years of dad jokes about his dad bod.